but all I can do is grunt. Celebrating Napoleon's birthday, that's right. Was on August 15th. That goes into my novel, which is the novelization for a television series. That's what it is. I didn't come here to do that, but it happened naturally, right? So, again, your intentions might be one thing, but when you start doing something, the result might change, right? I never wanted to quit playing music. I never wanted to quit. But my situation changed and I couldn't play music anymore, right? I talked a little bit about how the Don Buchwald agency dropped the ball. That's right. There was nobody working more than me in New York City in those days in the 90s. There was nobody working more than me from the American Indian Community House. They didn't know what to do with me. I did a minimum of 20 student films. I did tons of independent films. Like I said, in the major films, I was just a background actor, and a lot of times I wasn't even in it. I'm not even in Kiss of Death. You don't even see me. But I got to work with Barbet Schroeder. That's right. John Lennon is busted, guys. My next StreamYard, when I come at you, I'm at Starbucks. Yes! I'm a Starbucks man. I can't deny it. I'm sorry, there's a competitor coffee shop right down the way. I can't stand it. This is what I want. And by the way, it was not piping hot like it should have been. But don't worry, I'm going to keep my location a secret. Oh, I'd hate to dox myself. Gordon Douglas Ison is my name. My motto is anytime, anywhere. For these Fed rats from Michigan, that's right. I busted these guys. They're nothing but trash rats. That's what they are. Every single one of them is a snitch. Make no mistake about it. This is the biggest misnomer ever. Anyone running around calling people the S word, that's what they are. Man. We all know that. And I came up with another, whatever it's called. Oh man, I just got up. Guys, I've been celebrating Napoleon's birthday all month, maybe a little bit too much. So you got the PD, police department, plausible deniability, and paid deceivers. They're like strippers, guys. The police department are like strippers. They're not here to tell you the truth. They work for the corporation that is the city that you live in. Okay? They work for those insurance companies. The reason they're letting crime run rampant is because they're using tech. I'm the only person giving you guys this information. And guess what I got? The next StreamYard, guys. The next StreamYard, we got John Lennon busted. He busted himself. This is the biggest news since... I don't know. I don't know. I would hate to say anything with regard to his passing. I'm not trying to besmirch, John Lennon's name. But when you have RFK Jr. talking about Thane Caesar, this is stuff that I was studying over a decade ago. I think the cat's out of the bag. And I think it's out of the bag when it came to that op in the 1980s that had to do with John Lennon and Ronald Reagan. Well, what do you know? They recently made a movie about it with Jared Leto. Jared Leto played the guy who, I think, murdered Lennon, right? Or he shot, whichever one, I don't know. They confused the guys. Well, what do you expect? That's what they want in the schizophrenic future. That's right. We're here in appreciation for Napoleon and people like Mark Fisher. Mark Fisher talked about hauntology. And now Mark Fisher himself is haunting us, right? Because we're going to be using Mark Fisher in this property that I'm writing called Linoleum Blown Apart. It's the greatest idea for a TV show ever, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to punk rock. Nobody wanted to lick Iggy Pop's belly button. I got news for you. Not sure why you put that in the CBGB's movie with the late Taylor Hawkins. That's right. Taylor Hawkins was playing, is that his name? I got my phone. This is the case. He was playing drums for Alanis Morissette. Alanis Morissette is the first music video I ever worked on. I put it in my book, Two-Legged Animal. That's right. Yeah. I'm an animal. You guys like the Anti-Nowhere League? I feel like the Anti-Nowhere League today. Celebrating the great Napoleon's birthday. I was celebrating all month. What are you gonna do? Don't worry, it's gonna be a short one. Stay tuned to the next StreamYard, guys. I'm gonna present evidence that John Lennon was a drug courier. Nobody's saying that John Lennon was a drug dealer, guys. Nobody's besmirching his great name. He was a great musician. I have to honor him. Paul McCartney, I would have to say, is number one. That's why they created the Paul is dead mythos. And look what happened. In the schizophrenic future, John Lennon died. You see this? Do you see this? Very bizarre. Look at the people that John Lennon was associating himself with. The MC5, yes, in Michigan. John Sinclair, 10 for 2. Giving people prison time for smoking weed. We know it's ridiculous. Why do I know it? Because I'm a Gen Xer and I got busted for it in school. God, I told you guys before, my mom used to show up and embarrass me. Dressed like a cop. That's right. She worked for the Detroit Police Department. If you're living in a world of white hats and black hats, this ain't the show for you, pal. I got news for you. That's why my show really is for adults. I live on the streets. I eat off the EBT menu. And look at me. You don't see a shelf full of toys behind me now, do you? You see a shelf full of toys? I'm a 56-year-old man. When I write Linoleum Blown Apart, just like the books on Kindle, I'm going to actually have something in my hand that I can throw down. Just like my recordings. You guys know I was in a band, right? Just like my recordings back in the day, you'd actually have something tangible. You have something tangible that you can grasp. I'm not over here talking in platitudes. I'm not over here talking in slogans. I'm sure as hell aren't giving you advice. Ugh! There's enough YouTube channels out there with people giving you advice. I can't stand it. Ugh! You know what you could do with your advice? Grievance Squarty, I'll tell you, that's right. I'll tell you what you could do with your advice. You know, don't let the world... Wait, if you don't define yourself, then the world will define yourself for yourself. Huh? That's what I feel about advice, yeah. Here's my advice. If you don't define yourself, then the world will define yourself for yourself. Yeah! It doesn't make any sense, does it? Yeah, that's right. Ugh, I hate advice. Ugh, my mother grew up on a dirt farm. She used to give me advice all the time. God. Well, I gotta go out in the world, right? I gotta go out in the world. I gotta make my way. And when I did, by tapping into the Eggyverse, now we're gonna get more complex when it comes to the Eggyverse as well. We're gonna get more in depth. You can see this show is budding, it's flowering, it's growing, it's spreading, it's opening up like a glass onion. I can do better voices. I don't even try. Celebrating Mark Fisher and Napoleon. I'll have to see when Mark Fisher passed. Mark Fisher talked about something called hauntology. You got to look into things yourself, guys. This is an interactive show. We busted John Lennon from beyond the grave. That's how in tune the Eggyverse is. Now, don't forget, when I first started my show, I was cracking eggs over my head. You guys remember that? You guys have to go back to the original show, guys. I've been doing this for, been doing this for 2 years now. 2 years. I embarrassed myself completely, right? You have to trust your instincts. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about false feelings, false validation. I'm talking about a real, true shared, not just a shared moment, but real, true intuition, right? And with Stanley Kubrick's Monolith, we've discovered that this is weaponized. Why? Because they were using it on me just like a Clockwork Orange. Just like it, right? That's how they were using it. They were using it as a weapon. They, meaning those involved, and one of them happened to be my wife. So and by the way, I found out where the barber shop is, where the guy, when I first came to town, where he was using this weapon. Absolutely. I found out where your barber shop is, pal. Maybe I'll see you over there for a nice cut. Ooh. Absolutely. So these people, I was saying that they're on par with the FBI, but let me tell you something. More than likely, they're on par with maybe somebody in the TSA who's gonna go through your bag and steal your computer. That's how trashy I think these people are. And you don't know when somebody's using this weapon. That's how severe it is. And it gets pretty scary, let me tell you. It's like somebody jumping out from behind, a tree to scare you. But guess what? There's nobody there. And you start swinging for the ropes. That's what I call it. I call it swinging for the ropes. That's what they're using on Bam Margera. That's what Will Smith's wife used on him to cause that irritation. And they're acting like it's normal. My wife did the same thing. My name's Gordon Douglas Lyson. I'll dox myself. I've doxed these people before. You got to stay tuned to my show. I'll be putting up their pictures. Oh, yeah. If you called me on the phone and you have an Instagram, you are calling me through the Facebook app, and you are asking me, Gordon, why are you questioning Q with a big Q? Are you part of Q Roseanne? Why are you questioning your sexuality? I go, man, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm afraid. Yeah, I'll be putting your picture up on my show using my StreamYard. It's behind a paywall. Unfortunately, I do the ghetto version of everything, just like my show. We busted him, guys. We busted John Lennon right on the show from Beyond the Grave. I'm going to be playing that for you. And I talked a little bit about that. I talked a little bit about everybody knows, and nobody's disparaging anybody's quote-unquote community, but when John Lennon is being pressured and he's running in these underground circles and there is illicit sex going on, we can probably assume that many people want to sleep with John Lennon. Right? Take a look at the great Coen brothers inside Llewyn Davis. Remember, he goes into the coffee shop and the guy says, yeah, a lot of guys, they fall in love with that girl that he knocked up and she was pregnant. And he goes, yeah, a lot of them fall in love with the guy too. And who was playing it? The guy from one of those NSYNC bands. I don't know what they are. That's not my generation. Okay? I stopped listening to that garbage when they came out with the Spice Girls, man. Spice Girls was the last thing that I remember happening in the 90s. Why do you think John kept showing up with Yoko Ono? I'm not taking anything away from him being in love. We all want to be in love. I thought I was in love with the slope-shouldered manatee of a fuddy-duddy. Right? Oh, man. I'm almost out, guys. Ugh. It's definitely a refill day. I talk about my old friends. There you go. There's one of these for each of you. They ran ops using this. My wife was involved in it, and it was brutal. It was tortures of the damned, sir. Tortures of the damned. And I would explain to you what's going on with all the white boys in Detroit. What do you got? You got Jack White? You got Eminem? You got Kid Rock? Who else? Who else you got? And I'm not talking about the classic rock stuff. Okay? Yeah, Parliament Funkadelic, that's for sure. Right? But that goes back into classic rock, which I'm about to. I talk about my property, also known as Golden Years. You do need the Bowie song. And this is ready to go. Can you imagine if Johnny Depp got back into television? Right? He got rid of the bird and Amber Heard. She's gone. They had an antagonistic relationship, right? Antagonistic. Thank you. Well, it took me 3 times. I'm an antagonistic. That's right. That's me. Grievance Gordy. He had an antagonistic relationship with Amber Heard. We've seen this before. Where? In Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Okay? This was being played out. Take a look at that film, guys. I'm a film guy, guys. Right? I've been in antagonistic relationships like that, too. I've been in physical relationships, and I'm not really sure why some skank in Michigan is acting out my arrest at the Amazon warehouse. It's really interesting. Maybe they're a group of people who group identify. Do you group identify? Or are you a precious snowflake? That's right, snowflakes only. I talk a lot about a lot of things. We do jump around, and I got John Lennon, in his own words, saying that he was carrying the pills. That's right. I'm going to be playing that on StreamYard. We're going to be talking about Mark Fisher as the character in Linoleum Blown Apart as the professor who has what? Self-harm tendencies. You know, it's like if you say suicidal, they won't share your show. You got to share the show. You guys got to share the show. Please send it to a friend. Just send one episode. Send this episode to one person. Please, if you watch the show, just send it to one person. Say, check this guy out. I live off the EBT menu, and that is $6 per day. I don't blame the president. I certainly don't. Why? Because the president doesn't even know you exist. Right? There's something called the Electoral College. Your vote doesn't even count. You want to vote locally. You want to be involved locally. And that's what I did. I moved to Los Angeles. Now, if I was a real fruit bat, I would have moved out to the country somewhere. I was actually living in the country. I was living in North Carolina. I was researching my second memoir. My last name is Ison, I-S-O-N. My book, geniusly, was going to be called I, Son. I, Son. How? And how? That's right. I talk about getting work at the American Indian Community House in New York City. I talk about Don Buchwald Agency dropping the ball. Nobody was working more than me. There was one person who worked as much as me, and that was Irene Bedard. Irene Bedard, who played Pocahontas in Disney. She comes up. Boy, I think they got Pilates or something. I see all these hotties going to Pilates. Boy, I tell you. Can you imagine me showing up there? No, really, I want to work out and stuff. Cheers. Okay, guys, listen. All right, 20-minute episode. That sounds good, right? The coffee was not hot. Oh, it was terrible, but that's my fault. The good people at Starbucks would have happily exchanged it, but I needed a coffee bad. I needed to tell you guys what's going on here. Mark Fisher is the template for this professor where we're at in our story. The professor who writes Scorpius XL, I have all the treatments laid out. I'll be writing each one of them out. I'll be putting them behind a paywall. And thank you very much for purchasing the big kiss off. That's right. It put me at number 4,000 with a bullet. Oh boy. Pew pew. On the Kindle Direct Publishing thingy. I'm number 4,000 out of 400,000. It doesn't deter me. It doesn't bother me. Why? Because I'm an old punk rocker. I actually lived like a true method actor. I still am. Like a true embedded journalist. I still do. When you grow up, you find out all this stuff is rigged, man. The game is rigged. And what they left out, maybe, I don't know. There's so many books about John Lennon. Find it for yourself. Look into it yourself. I never heard this. I'm a classic rock guy. We were talking about golden years. Can you imagine if Johnny Depp got involved in an on-demand series? You know how huge that would be? He already has the band, the Hollywood Vampires. But you can't make a show about somebody who's successful in a band. You want somebody who's not successful. He's trying to get the band back together. You guys know the narrative to this? I do. I know all the narratives. I know every single narrative to everything that I've come up with on this show. I can go on and on and on. Look, we're at 20 minutes. We're going to leave it a 20-minute episode. Please stay tuned. I want to try to come at you tomorrow, but right now, I need a refill. Ooh, yes. And it's only 50 cents here at Starbucks. Cheers, guys.